Welcome to World War I Trench Dogs. I'm excited to explain it to you. Alright, here's Trench Dogs. Throughout the span of World War I, from July 24th, 1914 to November 11th, 1918, men battled one another as nations tousled their desires and fight for jurisdiction. Men alone were not to be only affected beings, as nearly 16 million animals were also forced to enlist to fight alongside their primal partners. In this poster board essay, I will unveil the importance of dogs within the long-fought moments of the Great War. Enjoy, as canine friends played many important roles throughout this period. First, we have the opening focal picture. It can be seen that of a lovely image with a soldier, most likely Prussian, from this point of his helmet, and a loyal dog, which symbolizes the important relationship between men and dogs in the war. Dogs serve different roles that will be touched base on as the essay continues. Roles like, not all noted on this poster board, cart carriers, messengers, cigarette runners, aides to the dying or wounded, finders of the non-dead but unconscious, rat killers, and more. Mostly all acts were done among blazing bullets and artillery. Here we have hero dogs. The first section is all about hero dogs, or dogs that served alongside soldiers, that saved lives and ensured protection. Heroes like Stubby, which is here, and Prince, which is here. Prince was a half Irish Terrier, half Collie mix. In 1914, he ran away from his London home right to the battlegrounds. Eventually, he arrived at Private James Regiment front lines located in France from London all by himself. Prince was Brown's regiment mascot and survived the entire war. He passed in 1921 after being reunited to Brown by the RSPCA in England. What a truly precious story, an unquestionably brave dog. Stubby, who is this guy and this guy, was a dog whose story my MTSS students at school fell in love with. He was just a stray bull terrier to begin with, but soon became the 102nd Infantry 26th Yankee Division's mascot. Stubby was smuggled to the front lines and fought 17 battles, eventually ranking him up to Sergeant Stubby, which outranked his master. His exquisite smell and hearing were life-saving for soldiers, as he could smell gas, artillery, and hear battles coming from a distance, to which he could warn his soldiers. Not only did he do these amazing things, but he found a German spy and helped find wounded soldiers. He is the only dog to rank up to sergeant, yet did so by bravery in combat, which also earned him a ton of medals. This whole section, it's a huge part of World War I and trench dogs. It's labeled as rats. Lice, rats, barbed wire, fleas, shells, bombs, caves, corpses, blood, schnapps, mice, cats, gas, artillery, filth, bullets, mortars, fire, still, this is war. Otto Dix, quoted in J. Winter, Sights of Memory, Sights of Mourning. Rats were one of the worst components of World War I due to the constant stress, disease, and added vermin they brought to the trench warfare. For one, they tended to gnaw at soldiers' boots who were already miserable, most likely suffering from the horrendous condition of trench foot. Trench foot was the outcome of flooding in the trenches, and men not being able to leave the pools of water until it was dried up. Time periods could be days or even weeks at a time. Boots would be so consumed with water that feet would begin to turn coal black and rot away in them. Rats were unstoppable when it came to wanting a taste, and in packs they would consume what they could and quickly. Lice and fleas also came as pesky travelers on the backs of rats. Soldiers would not have to fight the awful giant-sized rats alone, but also the biting bugs that came with them. Living in water or rat-filled trenches also meant that the waste from them would spread diseases. They are a species that excrement both ways often, and it smells horrific. All in all, it was a terrible mix of disgusting, stinky, sick-causing results at play. In these pictures, it's easy to see how valuable dogs were at this point of bringing them into trench territory. These images show piles, such as here and here, and strings of dead rats that we see here that were proudly photographed alongside dogs and soldiers who found no use for keeping them alive. Once the infestation was controlled, men were better prepared to battle or recover from injury. They were less likely to fall ill to a rat-carried disease or have entire limbs shoot off from mobs of them swarming in. Enlisted dogs, and even in some situation cats, which are not pictured, could be thanked for the extermination. Our next section is the package carriers, which are over here. As bullets flew and chaos emerged on all ends of the battlefields, outside of the trenches, man's best friend heroically pressed on to deliver goods. Whether medicine, letters, messages, cigarettes, ammunition, or anything else needed taken from one front to the other, it was dogs who were able to breeze through the battles and transport packages much easier than man on foot. In doing this, men's lives were better protected and dogs were much more maneuverable in ways that would also guarantee a safer distribution to the desired location. In this picture, we see an adorable French bulldog. His name was Mutt, and he was delivering smokes to his French troops. The image of the terriers, which is one mast right here, allows us to understand how being a carrier dog meant suiting up, sometimes wearing a bag that was almost the size of the dog itself, which you can see right here. These pictures show bravery as well as loyalty. Loyalty. In this picture, canines were trained to be extremely loyal to their comrade men. Many times men would lie unconscious, considered deceased. Dogs had a way of knowing that those very men were alive and would run their personal items back to camp to get their help. In the image of a dog with the helmet in its mouth, we see a good example of how they were trained to get proper attention to those in need, which is right here. In this image, a man is lying on the ground with a Great Pyrenees or Golden Retriever dog standing beside. This could mean that this dog was trained to stand by dying men for comfort or to give peace to the injured. While looking at the background, military vehicles and soldiers looked to be coming to help. Right up here, you can see military and their vehicles. Modern working dog program origins, which also kind of ties into loyalty. German Shepherd casualty dogs, which we have German Shepherds here. They're pretty popular. When they found a wounded man, they were trained to return to friendly lines with the leash in its mouth. This would show that a member of theirs needed immediate help. If a man was dead, the dog would simply move on. In stages of dying, they would not leave the man's side. Owing gratitude to thousands of injured troops who were rescued, these men owed their lives to the rescue of their canine friends. Mercy dogs, which began the modern working dog programs that we know of today, were also called medical dogs and casualty dogs. The German army first trained them in the late 19th century to aid in finding combat medics seek out injured soldiers on battlefields. Jean Bongartz, who was an animal painter and author of many animal books, founded the German Association for Medical Dogs in 1890. His goal was to end missing soldiers in the masses, such as from the Franco-Prussian War of 1870 to 1871. In World War I, it was the National Red Cross Society who trained these furry friends to serve specific countries in which they were assigned or needed. Mercy dogs usually carried a saddlebag that contained first aid, water, alcohol, and necessities along those lines, which once again we can see in this picture. This way, soldiers could take care of their wounds. To distribute the proper supplies, dogs were trained to move silently around, especially at nightfall, and sniff out the wounded while ignoring enemies. Trained dogs were so intelligent that they could distinguish slightly wounded men and those beyond help. They were trained to alert troops at camp that a man with a chance to survive had been found and needed attention immediately. Then we have scouts, which are down here. Scout dogs, as seen here with the Doberman Pinscher, and snipers were trained to point when enemy intruders were spotted. Pointing was basically a sniff without barking to maintain the secrecy in missions. Up to 1,000 yards away, they could detect enemies. Germans originally trained them as spies against allies in their positions. And we have guards right here. In the image here of the sleeping soldier and his bulldog, the dog is watching the battlefield through the night so that the man could get some rest. Dogs would prevent anything absurd from happening and could initiate self-defense as needed. Then we have trackers, which are down here. There's no image for it, but we have the wordage. As well as dogs are for their highly effective tracking abilities. Those very qualities were useful for World War I. Dogs were used for tracking many things that were helpful once trained. But one of the most important and useful rules was in tracking explosives. They could also track down soldiers for many reasons. And then we have down here our weird facts. Suspected spy dogs. So we have that right over here. Because of questionable and suspicious acts of the Germans, even some German Shepherd dogs in America were killed at times. So we have a World War I German Shepherd dog right here. Beautiful dog. Fun facts, superhero mailman. Dogs were much faster than humans, which made them ideal for delivering messages. They were used when technology was down, such as telephones and communication lines. And you can see a couple dogs in here running. You can see how fast they are. They can jump really far. They were just better all in all at delivery. And the sad fact is that about a dog and animal casualties. Up to 1 million dogs died in the war, not to mention 8 million horses and donkeys, as well as hundreds of other animals that died. Other animals included carrier pigeons, camels and bullocks, and cats. And so here you have the animals of World War I, pigeons, dogs, donkeys, horses, camels, and even elephants. And so thank you for listening to my presentation, and I hope that it helped open your eyes to how important dogs were in World War I, and a handful of animals. They helped us win. So have a good one. Thank you.